Welcome back to the channel, guys, and today I'm going to show you step by step how to make an army in Blender. This is the ultimate beginner friendly tutorial because we're not going to be doing any modeling, any animation, everything's already done. We're just going to be importing assets, and then we're going to be doing a little bit of geometry node stuff. I'll quickly show you guys to make our people get spawned, and then we'll make them kind of stick to the ground with a raycast node, and it's going to be a ton of fun. I'll even show you how to add some wobbliness to the terrain, which you can adjust, and our crowds will follow along with that. This is just a ton of fun. It's definitely worth learning, so watch the tutorial, and my original file will be up on Patreon. And not only that, we'll also be doing the rendering and compositing towards the end to really make this look really awesome. So if you guys are ready to learn, let's jump in and make an army in Blender. So first of all, you're going to want some free characters, and there's a site called Mixamo. So go to the internet, just type in Adobe Mixamo. You can click on Mixamo and you'll have to create an account, but thankfully it's free. And once you're on Mixamo, you're going to go ahead and you're going to go over to where it says animations, and you're just going to type in walk and then press enter. And you're just going to click on a walking animation. So in this case, I'm going to click on a walking animation. And then what you want to do, you want to come over to this window here. Now, you may have a default character that's not the same as this one over here, but what you're going to do, doesn't matter what character is displayed here, you're going to come here and go in place. So the character walks in place and doesn't move forward. That's really important. And then you can go to characters, and then you can just come over here and just make sure there's nothing in the search here. And these are all the default characters here. So what you can do is you can go down and look for a character of your choice. So over here, for example, is a knight of some sort. So I'm going to go use this character. You can choose whatever character you want. There's many to choose from. And then once you have it in, what you want to do is you want to make sure everything is set up, like it's in place. You have to walk cycle. And then you're going to go click on download. You're going to change the frames per second to 24 frames a second. And over here, it is FBX, which we want. So we're going to go ahead and click download. And now in my downloads here, I have an FBX called walking. So we're just going to call this walking_knight. And the reason we're calling it something is because it's going to keep saving these as walking FBX. So it'll just keep saving over the next file. So we want to make sure we just give it _knight, or however you spell knight. I think it's with a GHT. Okay, so there's our knight. And then you're going to go back. And we can leave the animation as it is, but now let's go ahead and look for a different character. So I'm going to go and I'm going to get, I don't know, let's get something cool. Maybe I'll go with, maybe I'll grab this guy over here, go use this character. And then I'm going to click on download. I'm going to make sure it's still the same settings, 24 frames a second, FBX. I'm going to click on download. And here we have that downloaded as walking. So I'm just going to go underscore and call it by what the character name was. And then let's go ahead. You can choose whatever you want. Let's see if there's another type of character here. I'm just going to go with free for our example, but you can get as many different types as you want. That's going to add more variety to your animations. So let's go down. I might grab this guy over here, go use this character. And then I'm going to go ahead and click download, 24 frames a second, click on download. And here we have it done. I'm just going to go underscore, just call it dude or whatever, as long as they all have different names. So we just know that they're different characters. I'm going to go free FBX files here. The more characters you do, the more you can essentially use in your animation, and you'll have more diversity. So let's go ahead and open up Blender. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to delete all of the default objects in our scene by selecting them and pressing delete. Let's go file, let's go import and go to FBX. Then I'm going to go to my downloads, and I'm just going to select all of these and go import FBX. So those free FBX files. And here you can see they're all imported. So one of them here is bigger for some reason. So I'm just going to grab that skeleton and go S and scale that guy down till it's the same size as the others. And then what we're going to do is just going to go to top view and go G and move them aside, and then grab one of these rigs here and go G, X, just move it over to the side like this. Okay, so we have our free characters here. And let's just grab the free rigs over here for now. So holding in shift, just select each one of these rigs, and then press M and go new collection. Let's just call it rigs, and then go OK. And then let's just hide that and turn it off for the render. And let's now grab each one of these character meshes like this. So I'm going to grab this guy, and holding in shift, I'm going to select a part in the body and go Control J just to make sure it's all one mesh. Then I'm going to grab this guy, holding in shift, select the helmet. In this case, I can see it's a separate object. Go Control J to join it into one mesh. And then grab this guy over here, holding in shift, just select him, and then go Control J just to make sure everything will be one part. So now we have these three meshes here. So let's grab these three guys and let's go M and let's go New Collection and just call it People, like so. And let's go OK. So now we have our people here. So I'm just going to drag the people collection above the rigs. And then we have our main collection up here. So let's just click on our main collection so it's active. And let's just hide the people here. So now we have a scene ready to go to set up geometry nodes. So let's go Shift A. Let's add in a plane. Let's tab into edit mode and let's go S5 and then press enter and then tab back out. And let's just go over to our geometry workspace, our geometry nodes workspace, move this over here like so. And then let's just go new and let's just call this army. And what we're going to do is we're going to distribute some points on this plane. Let's go Shift A, search, and let's type in distribute. So distribute, and let's go distribute points on faces. Let's place it over here. So now we have some points generated over here. And then let's go Shift A, search, and let's go instances on points, and let's grab that, place it next to this one here. And now what we can do is we can reference our armies. Let's go grab the instances here, drag on it, and then let go. And it's going to bring up the search option, and let's type in collection, and let's go collection info. And then all we have to do is click over here and let's reference the people collection. So now we can see all of our people are being displayed here. But let's come to our density and make it 0.5 for now. And so it's just not as dense, and maybe even 0.2. Okay, just to test this out with. And let's now move these guys up a little bit like so. And move this instances up. So this is what we have. And that's all good and stuff. So if you now hit the space bar, you can actually see that they're animated, right? But if we stop at a certain point, you can see they just stop. And the reason for that is, let's just quickly go back to our layout, right? If we quickly come here to our main collection where our plane is and just hide it and bring back our people, we can, in fact, let's just grab the rigs as well. Let's bring the rigs back. Each one of these rigs only has a set amount of keyframes. And instead of duplicating each one of these over and over, what we're going to do is just going to select these keyframes. So let's select this rig on one of our characters. Let's go over to our graph editor. Let's select everything here by pressing A. Let's go to channels and then let's go to F curve and make cycle. So it's cycling. Then let's grab the next one. Let's make sure everything's active. Let's go channels. Let's go to F curve and let's go cycles. And then let's grab so all of your rigs pretty much. Make sure they're all selected, all active, and then go to your channels and make them cycles under the F curve modifier. So now they're all going to be cyclic like so. And let's now go back to our timeline. And then with each one of these rigs, you can just grab these keyframes and go G and just offset them all just a little bit so they're not completely in sync, just to add a bit more realism. And now you can see the footsteps aren't exactly the same, okay? So now let's turn off the people and the rigs layer. Let's go back to our collection. And now if we grab this, and in fact, let's go back to our geometry nodes. So now you can see they are walking. Now we'll animate them going forward later on, but for now we have some of the big jobs out of the way. From here, it's pretty easy. So just make sure to save. I'm going to save this to my desktop. Just call it army or something like that and go save Blender file. But let's quickly randomize things a little bit. So let's grab the scale here and drag on it. Let's just type in random. Let's go for random value. And we want to make sure we change this to a float. And then so they're not absolutely at 0 at the smallest. Let's make the smallest 0.8 and the biggest will be 1 like so. Okay, so make sure the value is going to the scale. So 0.8 at the smallest and at the max a value of 1. So now we got some size variation, but don't make the min number too small or it's going to be very unrealistic, though it is quite funny. So just something like that would be fine. Okay, so now I guess we can do a little bit of animation. So let's go Shift A. Let's get a, so we're in our main collection here. So let's just quickly go Shift A, search and get a plane. Let's go S to scale that plane up and go Control A and apply to scale. And let's tab into edit mode and let's just go S and Y and scale it along the Y about this much. And let's just go R to roll in some loops like so. About this many, and then press A to select everything, right click and go subdivide. And let's just come here to the subdivide and let's just make it something like 30. And now we have some subdivision on this. And this is going to be our ground. So let's just go back to our main plane in fact, let's go back into object mode. So let's just select our geometry node setup here again. And we want these guys to be able to interact with this floor, be on the floor. So how do we do that? Okay, so we need to set the position for this to happen. So let's move these nodes over here. Let's go Shift A, search, and let's get a set position. Place it over here. And we want to set the position of the points that are being generated on the faces. And to get the position, we're going to be using the ray cast. Let's just drag on position and let's type in ray cast. And with the ray cast, let's just go down and get the hit position, which is what we want. So it's going out from the hit position into the position here. And we need to tell it what the target is. So let's come here and drag on a target. And let's actually name our target first. So we created this ground, so let's just go ahead and grab it. Let's just call it ground. Okay. And now let's go back to our geometry node setup and let's just come grab the target here. Let's just go object and let's get our object info and let's go ahead and click here and let's get that ground. So we should now be able to go ahead and grab our ground and then press the space bar and then move it, and they should stick to the floor, which they aren't in this case. So let's just quickly grab them and see. Oh yeah, I think we need to change the object info to relative. So now if we grab the ground and we move it, they all go along, okay? Just make sure that your plane, however, that we're using is above the ground, not underneath it. Otherwise this won't work, okay? So just move it up a little bit if you have to, if that's not working for you. But the cool thing is, in fact, let's just go into edit mode with our plane selected and just go G, Z, move it up quite a bit. Tab back out, and now we can select our ground and let's go to our modifiers and give it a displace. And let's go ahead, click new, and let's give that under our texture properties a cloud. And let's just make the scale something 0.1 or maybe even bigger. Yeah, there we go. Right click and go shade smooth. So now we have some uneven ground. And if we grab our geometry node setup here, we should see that that should be also kind of taking the ground into account a bit. In fact, if we grab the ground here, we can kind of here adjust the strength. And you can see that they are now in high places and in low places. I wouldn't push this too extreme with such a simple setup, but just that slight bit of variation really adds some extra realism. The fact that they can be spawned higher or lower. So now how do we make them move? Well, a simple way to do that is just to grab your geometry nodes object, which is the plane in this case. Let's just double click and call it people. And let's just go G, X and move it back. Or I'm gonna go back to my layout for now. I'm just gonna go G and Y and move it back in the scene. And then I'm gonna go I and insert a location. And I should have done that on frame 1. So I'm just gonna go G and drag it all the way to frame 1. There we go. And then you can come through to, let's go to frame, I'd say frame 250. Let's enable auto key and go G, X or G, Y and then move it forward this way a certain amount, and then grab both these keyframes and go T and then go linear. So now all you have to do is go to frame 1 and see if it matches up, if it's not too much sliding. In this case, that sort of spacing seems to work. If it's not quite right, just come to the end with auto keying still enabled and just go G, Y, and you can slightly adjust these till it looks like there isn't too much sliding and they're actually interacting with the ground. But I'm kind of happy with this for now. So this is our people. This is the geometry node setup done. So now let's go to frame 1. Let's go Shift A over here and go add in a camera. Okay, we're gonna add in a camera. Let's go into camera view and then G, Z, move it up and rotate it. And let's get it in close. And let's enable auto keying and then just move our camera to add in a keyframe. And then let's drag through our animation and just go G, Y and move our camera back bit by bit, auto keying it just so it is moving along with our crowd. And you can kind of move the camera a little bit just so it looks like there's some wobble on it. And then towards the end, I'm just gonna have the camera a little bit closer like this. And then, yeah, it can all fade in. So now let's turn off auto keying and let's see what that looks like. Okay, now we have this really cool epic looking army shot. Once again, the more variety of people you download as FBXs, the more realistic this will be. So now let's do some stuff with the lighting and materials. Let's go to our world. In fact, we should go to our render settings first. Let's make it cycles. Let's make the device GPU. And let's make the max sample something like 30. And then we're gonna go Shift A, let's add in a sun. And let's just rotate it in like so. And let's go ahead and give that a strength of 12. And I'm just gonna move it off to the side, rotate it in. Okay, let's have a look, and now let's go Z and let's go rendered. And let's just limit the rendering to the camera by going Control B and dragging over it. And now we have this shot here, but we also want to add some ground. So what you can do is you can go to the internet and you can go to a site called Polyhaven. It's 100% free. And then you can go to the assets and then go to the textures. And then you can go to terrain. And there are heaps and heaps of options to choose from. You click on one that you want and you can download it. It's going to download it as a zip folder with a blend file in there. And then we can just append the pre-existing already set up material. So I already have some of these materials. So I'm going to go ahead and just go file and go append. I'm going to go to my asset library where I keep them, but wherever you've downloaded, yours will be your location. And I already have one that I kind of like that I'm just going to grab. And I click on it and I'm going to go to the material and I'm just going to append that material. Then you can just grab your ground and go to your materials and then go and find whatever material you imported. Tab into edit mode and go U and go unwrap. Tab back out. And now if you go into camera view and you go Z and you go rendered, you should see your texture. Now I'm going to go to my shading workspace. And this is how Polyhaven materials are set up for you, but you're just going to come here to the mapping and then you're going to make the scale something like 12 on all of the vectors just to make it a bit bigger or however big you want. So I'm going to go something like that. And for me, I'm just going to go Shift A, search, and I'm just going to change the color over here from the image output, but that's just a personal choice. You can just use the materials as you've downloaded them from Polyhaven, but I'm just going to go with some nice dirt like this. You can use whatever texture setup you want. I'm going to go back to my layout. And then another thing you can do is just go to your world properties and go to your color and make it sky texture. Now you can stick with the sky texture, or if you want, you can go ahead and just use your own HDRI and then go open. And if you have a HDRI, you can use it. You can get them as well for free on Polyhaven under their HDRIs. You can download the EXR file and then import it like I'm doing over here. But I've already got one that I like, and I'm just going to choose that. And now I have some HDR lighting. It doesn't really matter if it doesn't match up with our scene here, because what we're going to do now is go over to our passes up here. Under our view layer properties, we're going to enable mist under the data. Then we're going to go to our world properties again. We're going to go to the mist path. And now we can adjust it here. But if you actually want to see these values displayed here, you can go over to your camera, select it, go to your camera settings, then go to the viewport display and enable mist. So we can actually see where the mist is going to be distributed. So let's go back to our world properties, and then under the mist pass here, the first number here is going to be where the mist starts. So I'm going to place it right over here. And then this one here, the 25, I'm going to drag that up more so it tells us how far away we want that to go. So I'll have it ending about here. And I think that'll work good for what we're trying to do. So now let's just go render and render image and do a test render. And now it's done rendering. You just need to go to your compositing, enable use nodes, and then you're going to go Shift A, search, and get a viewer node. Plug the image into that, and you can go Shift left click and just drag to connect these cables together. And you can press V to zoom back out like so. So now let's do a little bit of compositing here. First of all, let's utilize our mist pass. So we're going to go Shift A, search, and get a mix and place it on here. And the image should be going to the top image, which it is. And then let's just grab the mist and plug it into the factor. And then this over here is going to be our mist color, which you can change to anything you want. I'm just going to go with kind of like a bit of an off-white. And if you want more control on this, you Shift A, search, and get a color ramp. Place that on the mist cable. So the mist is going into here and then into the factor. And then you have a way of controlling that fall off as well. And you can mess around with this value to change things as well. You can also change this from linear to B-spline if you want a little bit of a softened effect towards the end there. Whatever you're going for is fine. So I'm just going to change it back to linear in this case. But let's also come over here to our output and let's go Shift A, search, and get a lens distortion. Place it over here and let's make it 0.02 or 0.03 for the distort, and then 0.02 for the dispersion, and let's click on fit. And now we have a little bit more of this cool effect going on towards the ends. And then one more thing we can do, Shift A, search, and get a color balance. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lift here, bring it up a little bit, and I'm going to make it kind of like a warmer kind of reddish color over here. Then I'm going to take the middle here, bring that up a bit, and I'm going to go ahead and make it also a bit warmer in tone. And then the last one here, we're going to bring the gain down a bit, like so. And let's take that to blue a little bit like that. Just kind of creating this sort of muddy cinematic look, kind of like a little bit of a grungy battle scene. I think that looks really good. You kind of mess around with these, but just that effect, it really adds a lot to this over here. So now you have an army here. You can add in more people anytime you want. So let's go back to our layout. And that's it. You can come now to your geometry nodes. And at any point you can come here to the density and you can control how many people you want. You can bump it up. You can also tab in to edit mode and scale up your plane at any point. Change the dimensions of that plane if you want to add more people. You can even subdivide the plane a few times and then delete certain parts of it if you don't want people to be in those positions. There's a lot of different things you can do with this. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. Now make sure to render this out as an animation. You can simply do that by changing your output under your output properties and then changing your file format. You can do PNGs and then composite them together in another software, or you can just change it to FFmpeg video, change the encoding to MP4, and then just render out directly as an animation, whatever you choose. So then you just go render and render animation. So my final result that I did will be up on Patreon. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time for another tutorial.